Hello everybody and welcome to this video in which we are looking at Nexomon Extinction. This is a new game that comes to us from P-Cube and is available on Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4, possibly PC as well, I can't remember, but definitely it's a new release on console. And as you can see right away, it is a Pokemon clone. And originally when I got into this game, I was not expecting much more than a very B-tier Pokemon clone, I must admit. From the screenshots and the little bit of footage that I saw, it just seemed like it was a couple of small indies got together, decided they loved Pokemon, and wanted to basically copy it wholesale. It didn't look like it had much originality to it. It didn't look like it had the same, the same X factor that the Pokemon games have. So it just felt like it was going to be a bit of a drain to play, to be honest. I am very happy to say that I was wrong about it, and actually Nexomon Extinction is a really interesting, entertaining, enjoyable game that isn't so much clone of Pokemon as it is very smart homage to it. And yeah, I've got a review up on digitallydownloaded.net. You can go and check that out. But what I wanted to use this video for, I guess, was to talk more broadly about some of the things that I really enjoyed about this game and where it managed to surprise me. So to start with, the thing that really kind of caught me right out of the gates is that this game has a much stronger focus on narrative than Pokemon. So Pokemon, as anybody knows, is a very kind of simple coming-of-age story, which is really about just pointing you in the next direction and telling you to go there. There's usually some kind of subplot involving some kind of evil organization that you get to take down, but that's always secondary to the main deal, which is just to go from town to town, defeating gym leaders, collecting Pokemon, leveling them up, and getting yourself ready to take on the Elite Four. That's the basic structure of most Pokemon games. This one, however, right from the outset has a stronger sense of narrative and mystery to it, in that you'll want to progress on to figure out what's going on, because there is a sense that you don't have all the information going in. And while it starts off in a very similar vein to Pokemon, you know that it's going to be subversive to Pokemon in some way or other. And I'm not going to give any of it away, but it is very well done. It's not the most intelligent, deep, or insightful plot. It's certainly not trying to be that. But it is well written, and it does have that narrative focus, which is quite unusual for Pokemon-like games. Even looking beyond Pokemon itself, Dragon Quest Monsters doesn't tend to have hugely in-depth narrative. World of Final Fantasy had a little bit more narrative, but again, it wasn't really the point of interest for that game. This one you will play because you are enjoying the narrative first and foremost, and like a more traditional RPG, I guess, the combat system and the monster collecting and all that is really in service of that narrative. So that was something that caught me out right from the start, and I really enjoyed. Another part which is kind of related to the narrative is the sense of humor. This game has a really good sense of humor. Pokemon itself also was humorous. It didn't take itself seriously by any means, and had plenty of moments of levity and laugh out loud funnies at points in time, especially when you'd run into characters that were spitting out meme worthy comments well before people were doing GIFs and whatever. Who likes short shorts? I like short shorts. They had a lot of little one-liners and whatever in Pokemon which were quite funny, but Nexomon takes things to a little bit further extent. It is very self-aware of not only itself but the whole Pokemon collecting or the monster collecting tradition and genre, and it's willing to break the fourth wall in service of that sense of humor, and it's a much more cohesive sense of humor as well. There's a character that follows along with you through much of your quest and is pretty biting in their comments, as well as again being very self-aware. So self-aware is a very hard style of humor to write because it can very easily dip into the really embarrassing spaces very quickly, but Nexomon gets away with it. It is quite well written. Once again, it's not the most intelligent narrative, but it is intelligently put together in a way that is interesting and enjoyable. The combat system itself is really good too. The first thing I will say is this little mini game that you're seeing on the screen right now, that little quick time event that you see, that immediately made me laugh, because that was it seemed to me anyway, that seems to be a very clear reference to urban legends that were going around back when Pokemon was a new thing. So I've been playing Pokemon since Pokemon Blue and Red, and I distinctly remember to this day the playground having all these kinds of rumors about buttons that you could press to make it more likely to catch the Pokemon that you were trying to catch, and you'll be frantically mashing the the buttons on your Game Boy trying to make sure that you maximize the odds of the Pokeball actually catching the monster, even though it never actually had any effect. There was no way to cheat your way to catching the Pokemon easier. I don't know if this QuickTime event in Nexomon actually does anything, because you actually see the percentage chances of catching a Nexomon before you throw the little cube thing that captures them, and then the QuickTime event afterwards doesn't have any effect. It doesn't pop up that it's boosted the percentage chance of catching the Pokemon or the Nexomon or whatever. So it seems like to me like it might almost be a non-effect QuickTime event, but thrown in there as a bit of a reference back to Pokemon. So I like that. I like the way that the game it's aware. Once again, it's very self-aware of the Pokemon monster collecting tradition, and it just plays with it. There's this sliding puzzle here that you're seeing on the screen as well. That was a very famous sliding puzzle from the original Pokemon and has pretty much popped up into every other Pokemon game since. And each time that these things pop up, they are a humorous and quite bright take on that original idea. So that was a game that the gameplay actually is in service of the humor of the game, which is really nice. And I do like when a kind of a satirical themed game doesn't just make the jokes in the narrative, it actually makes the jokes into part of gameplay mechanics as well, and this game does a pretty good job of that. The only thing I will say is that it does feel like it's slow going at first. It does feel like there's a huge grind involved in actually leveling your characters up in the early stages of the game. I understand that there's actually a patch coming that will address that, so this is more just a suggestion for people that might buy the game on day one after watching this video or whatever. If it does feel like it is a grind at first, just hang out for that patch, because after the first couple of hours the balancing does smooth things out and progress happens at a much quicker rate, and you don't feel like you're grinding anywhere near as much. It's just a matter of getting through those first couple of hours that is a bit of a challenge. But yeah, in terms of presentation, it's all very nice. I didn't think that I'd like the way that the game looked from the screenshots. Like I said, it looked like it was an indie kind of cheap attempt at doing Pokemon that didn't have that characteristic level of refinement to the cuteness of the monsters. But once I started to collect my Nexomon group together and I started to have to make decisions about which ones I wanted in my party and which ones I didn't, I realized that I found a lot of the character designs to be very entertaining as well. There's about 380 Nexomon to collect, and that's a lot. And you do have spots where you'll come across a good half dozen, if not more, new Nexomon each time you reach a new area. So you do collect them at a pretty good rate. They get a nice range of different skills. It's all animated very nicely. It's all very colourful as well. The world is quite bright. And I don't know much else to say. Oh, I do like the way it does random encounters as well. In Pokemon itself, if you were walking through the grass, you'd randomly be attacked by an enemy and you'd have to fight them, and it didn't really matter how healthy your team was. In Nexomon, you have to walk into a bit of grass that's shuffling around. That's the indication that a monster is there. So you can actually avoid the random encounters if you want. If your party's pretty weak and you're trying to get back to a healing spot, it is much easier in this game because it doesn't put any pressure on you to fight those battles if you don't want to, which is a nice touch, and that's a modernization that I think, I mean, the Pokemon games do the same thing these days, but it just shows that this game isn't in complete slavish homage to the earlier Pokemon games. Anyway, that's enough for this video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, please do click that like and subscribe button, and please do consider backing me on Patreon if you enjoy my videos. Otherwise, check out my full written review of this on digitallydownloaded.net. And have a great weekend. We will see you next week.